Hello, I hope all is well. I'm Antonio Schoenhart, reporter for WRHU 88.7 Radio Hofstra University. Joined with me here on Zoom is Hofstra professor Dr. Kung Liu. And can you explain to everyone listening who you are, what do you do here at Hofstra? Give us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, my name is Hong Liu. I'm a professor of psychology at Hofstra University. We have both master and doctor programs in industrial and organizational psychology. Our major, we apply psychology at work, trying to improve people's health and well-being at work.
Okay, perfect. And so, very quickly, let's just get right into it. On Wednesday, you were giving a presentation. Would you like to elaborate a little bit more on what that presentation will entail?
Sure. This presentation will study one type of job stressors. Job stressor is a source of stress people experience at work. So this type of job stressor is called workplace mistreatment. Specifically, I will introduce a study of us examining workplace ostracism and how ostracism at work will make people feel psychological and physical pain, and how people with racial majority and racial minority background cope with workplace ostracism.
So, just on the surface level, without giving up too much, because you don't want to tease everything, from the study and from the research that you have conducted, what have you found so far?
Well, we found that ostracism as a social stressor threats people's fundamental needs to belong. Social beings as human beings are social beings. We all have this desire to establish and maintain long-lasting, high-quality relationships. However, when people are ignored or excluded from social activities at different social settings, people will experience social pain to the extreme. People could experience desperate or social death. So that is a topic of ostracism, and we apply this knowledge at the work settings to examine how employees can feel certain type of exclusion or ignorance at work. So far, the research in this area have reviewed a profound detrimental effect of ostracism on people's both psychological and physical health. And currently, people are trying to examine how employees cope with ostracism to improve their workplace relationship with others.
And so, now my question to you would be from your own personal perspective, how would you define workplace ostracism? And have you personally experienced it?
Oh, sure. Workplace ostracism is a unique type of stressor because it reflects actions of omission. In other words, the perpetrator conduct ostracism. They don't do anything harmful to the victim. They simply withdraw their social interaction behaviors. This renders a lot of ambiguity to the victim, and the victim need to spend a lot of cognitive effort trying to understand what is wrong in his or her social surroundings. So ostracism is very unique in this type of ambiguity and subtleness. Well, I became interested in studying ostracism 10 years ago when some international students came to me and explained that they had a hard time to mingle with the mainstream. I can relate to that because many years ago, I also came to the United States to pursue my graduate study in the University of South Florida, and I also sensed that this type of alienation from the local students may be due to my cultural background and my language barrier back to then.
And so, just building off of that, can you share some examples of behaviors or actions that can be perceived as ostracizing in the workplace?
Well, some example of workplace ostracism is that people ignored you in the hallway. So when you say hi to other people, they did not return your greetings. Other example is that in a meeting, you try to elaborate your ideas and suggestions, but the people did not really paying attention to your ideas and suggestions, just moved on with other topics. This happens quite often at the workplace. Sometimes it could be purposeful. An extreme example could be silent treatment, but sometimes it could also be non-purposeful. For example, when you say hi to other people, but the people did not return your greeting, it is quite possible that person was cognitively occupied. He or she did not ignore or did not notice your greeting. So this is non-purposeful ostracism. However, from the victim perspective, both purposeful and non-purposeful ostracism will make people feel quite bad.
And so obviously this seems like a situation that anyone who finds himself, surrounded by workplace ostracism isn't going to feel too well about it. So now I want to ask, how do you think workplace ostracism impacts employee morale and productivity?
Ostracism is very damaging to employees' productivity because ostracism put a strong threat to one's self-esteem. When a person feel ostracized, they have doubt about their own self-esteem and self-worth, and this will damage their workplace productivity and morale. And if this happens at the team level, for example, if a team people are all very busy, overwhelmed with tasks, and ignored the interpersonal relationships, so this could reflect a sense of ostracism at the team level, and everybody in this team could feel quite discouraged and lack of motive in conduct the work.
And so my question now is, how do individuals who experience workplace ostracism, how do they cope with it? What is best for victims of workplace ostracism to get through obvious scrutiny that they are receiving?
That is a very good question. Currently, the research focuses more on the detrimental effect of ostracism and what make it happen. Researchers have started examining people's coping strategies toward the workplace ostracism. Because people will have this fundamental need to belong. When we feel being ostracized or excluded, we all try our best to be re-included. This is actually the topic of my current presentation on Wednesday. We studied people's strategies in impression management as a way to turn around their less satisfactory interpersonal relationship at work. So with impression management, the people trying to create a desirable image in the eyes of others, trying to improve their value, and through different strategies such as self-promotion or ingratiation. Self-promotion including convey or communicate with others about one's own competency and value, and integration including compliment others and trying to be re-included by doing some favor with other people, lending help and receiving help. Those are the interpersonal strategies that help individuals to be re-included in the group.
Okay, and if you are just tuning in, you are listening to 88.7 FM Radio Hofstra University. I'm Antonio Schoenhart on a Zoom call with Dr. Kang Liu, who is a professor here from Hofstra University, who is also giving a presentation on Wednesday describing workplace ostracism and the effects that it can have on employees who feel ostracized in their workplace. And so now, Dr. Liu, I want to ask, so here on campus, we have the Center for Race, Culture, and Social Justice that's located in Roosevelt Hall, room 203. Director Dr. Jonathan Lightfoot and Associate Director Dr. Veronica Lippincott can also be found there. I want to ask, has this been a good resource for students from abroad, from students from minority communities who may feel ostracized in a classroom or on a workplace here on campus? Is this a good place for them to go to find the help that they may need?
I think so. I think the Center of Race is a great place to promote inclusion across the campus, and I know that they provide this research grant to researchers every year and promote a lot of research in the areas. If a student feel alienated or trying to cope with stressors on campus, it's a good resource for them to gain some knowledge for both research and practice.
So, as I know, you are the recipient for the Center for Race Summer Research Grant. How do you tend to bring people in and get them to understand that workplace ostracism is a topic that needs to not only be talked about, but also combated?
Oh, definitely. I and my graduate students have conducted this research on workplace ostracism. We especially focused on people with racial minority background. It has been reported that about the 60 to 70% of American employees have experienced ostracism at the working place, and the situation is worse among people with racial minority background due to their sometimes low status and the lack of resources. This is salient problems because in the as the U.S. workplace is becoming more diversified, there is about two-fifths of the employees in the current workforce are with racial minority background. Therefore, for leaders who are willing to develop and create an inclusive working environment, it's super important for them to understand the social challenges this group of employees are facing. So in this project, we examined the workplace ostracism among these racial minority groups as well as the racial majority groups. We studied how these two groups cope with workplace ostracism and what is the mechanisms that um, lead to their emotions as well as um, behavior responses to this type of workplace mistreatment.
Staying on the topic of combating workplace ostracism, what steps do you believe organizations should take to prevent or address workplace ostracism? What should be done in order to make sure that this doesn't happen?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, as I mentioned, ostracism could be purposeful. It also could be non-purposeful because it is a perception from the victim perspective. If you feel that you are being ignored by other people, you would experience ostracism. However, a lot of times, especially when the workplace is very busy and there are time pressure to finish work tasks, uh, some people ignored others interaction requests due to this fast work pace. So this type of ignorance is non-purposeful. Managers, if they know the detrimental effect of workplace ostracism, and they know that sometimes people engage in this lack of contact due to busy work pace, then they could first remind the employees that this could happen, and you should be mindful about your interactions with other workers. Sometimes some ambiguous social cues could result in a feeling of workplace ostracism. So being aware of the situation is the initial step for the leaders to prevent and minimize workplace ostracism.
So, now for my final question before we have to wrap up. As someone who has been or who has felt ostracized in the workplace before, what would your advice be to people nowadays or to someone who is currently feeling ostracized in the workplace? What would you tell them to not only help them cope and get through it, but also to become above it and persevere through adversity? What would your advice be?
That's a very good question. For people who are experiencing workplace ostracism, my advice is to try to cultivate your interpersonal resources with people who you trust and with people who you feel um, could be helpful. This is because, like in social settings, we all have these opposite motives. On the one hand, we have this hope for affiliation. We want to be included. On the other hand, we also have this fear to be rejected. So when you be proactive to other people, first you hope to build a relationship. At the same time, you also have this social fear to be rejected. Therefore, for people who are experiencing autism, they already are running low on social resources. Therefore, the first tip for them is to try to build a relationship or deepen a relationship with somebody they know well at work or somebody they trust at work. Then they can try to crafting this relationship with their work friends. Then this will satisfy their need for belong or their need for friendship. Then after they build some resources, they can also extend their interpersonal network by proactively socialize with people beyond their current circle. They can socialize with, for example, other departments or other work units, build their professional network, and this will make them strong. When we socialize with other people at work, one underlying reason is that we try to give and take resources. If we make us ourselves resourceful, we are valuable, we are much more less likely to be ostracized in the future.
Okay, perfect. Dr. Liu, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. This was a very informational interview. I feel like I definitely learned a lot, and I hope our listeners learned a lot. I'm Antonio Schoenhart, right here on 88.7 FM, Radio, Hofstra University.